Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to my channel. So in this video I thought I would talk about the common bulking mistakes that people make when bulking. And these are mistakes that I've made in the past as well. So I thought I would sort of highlight 8 key mistakes really that people are making. So hopefully you take some value from this video. So with that being said, let's get into the first mistake. So the first mistake that I want to talk about is not eating enough calories. Now if you're working out, it doesn't matter how many reps you're doing, what exercises you're doing, how many times you go into the gym a week, what you're eating. If you're not eating enough food, if you're not in a caloric surplus, you're not going to put on weight and therefore you're not going to build much muscle. When I was younger, around about 18 at the time when I first started going to the gym, I was incredibly skinny at the time and I was working out for around about 6 months, maybe 12 months at the time, trying to copy people in the gym, what they was doing, because I didn't really know what I was doing in all honesty. And I wasn't growing, I wasn't putting any muscle, and I was looking the same every single month. And I know now, looking back, that the reason for this was because I just wasn't eating enough food. If your weight's not going up, you have to increase your calories. It's as simple as that. And I would recommend increasing your calories by about 100 calories each time until you get to the point where your weight's actually going up. So the second mistake that I want to talk about is the opposite to the first mistake, which is eating too many calories, which is also known as dirty bulking. And this is when you're eating in a high caloric surplus of 1,000 or more calories above maintenance level. And because you're trying to get this many calories in, you tend to eat a lot of processed foods and junk foods, because it's very difficult to eat only clean, nutritious foods when you're trying to hit that many calories in a day. And because these foods tend to be a lot higher in fat, higher in sugar, and they're lower in micronutrients, which means long term can lead to health problems such as diabetes or cardiovascular disease. And you tend to put on excessive amount of fat when you're dirty bulking, because you can't force muscle gain, you can only force weight gain, which means most of the weight that you're going to gain during a dirty bulk is mainly going to be fat, and it's going to take a lot longer to actually get rid of that fat when you come to cutting down. And this is why the recommendation is to lean bulk and to be in a small caloric surplus of around about 300 to 500 calories above maintenance level, and you want to be aiming to put on around about half a pound a week. I have done a video about this previously on how to calculate your calories for a bulk, so if you're interested in taking a look at that, I will link it somewhere up here. So mistake number 3 is not tracking calories, not keeping a track of what you're eating throughout the day. It was only when I started to do this is when I actually started to see results. It's very difficult to sort of eyeball food and have an idea of what calories are in that food and what measurements are in that food unless you've been sort of doing it for a long time, unless you've been working out for years and you know exactly what you're eating, exactly what portion sizes you're eating. So you want to get yourself into the habit of tracking your calories, using a tracking app to track your calories. The one that I use is MyFitnessPal, but there are many apps available. And once you get into the habit of actually doing this, you're going to know exactly the amount of calories that you're eating for the day, but more importantly, it's going to help you make sure that you're hitting your macro goals for the day. Now, mistake number 4 that I want to talk about is not eating enough protein and enough carbohydrates. Now, protein contains amino acids which are essential for muscle repair and for muscle growth, so you want to be making sure that you're getting enough protein into your diet. I aim for around about 1 gram of protein per pound of body fat that I weigh, and you don't want to be getting in too much protein because your body can only break down so much protein per meal, so anything that your body can't break down is just going to waste. And when it comes to carbohydrates are what give you energy throughout the day, they're what fuel your workouts, so you want to be making sure that you're getting enough carbohydrates in to provide your body with enough glycogen to use for energy, because if your body is not getting enough energy from glycogen, it's going to look for other sources to get energy from, such as breaking down muscle tissue to get energy, and that's definitely what you don't want. And you want to be trying to include carbohydrates before a workout and after a workout. I aim for around about 40 grams of carbs pre-workout and around about 40 grams of carbs post-workout, and I try to feed my body with protein and carbohydrates every sort of 4 hours. And point number 5 that I want to talk about is not getting enough rest, not getting enough sleep at night, and not resting enough between workouts. And this was something that I only sort of realised recently myself, how much of a difference this actually makes. You see, when you're actually working out, when you're putting your muscles through stress, you're causing tiny tears to those muscle fibres. And it's only when you're actually resting, when you're sleeping at night and when you're sort of out of the gym, when your body is actually repairing those muscles. And each time those muscles repair, they grow bigger. Muscles don't actually grow in the gym, they grow when you're outside the gym, when you're sleeping and when you're resting. So it's important to be making sure that you're getting enough sleep. You want to be aiming for a sort of minimum of 8 hours sleep each night. And when it comes to resting between exercises, you don't want to be working the same muscle group more than twice a week. I used to be in the impression of the more you worked out a muscle, the more that particular muscle grew. I kind of assumed that if I wanted to grow a big chest or big biceps, I had to keep hitting that muscle 3 or 4 times a week because I thought that was the only way to really get it to grow. And that just simply isn't true. You have to give yourself a minimum of sort of like 48 hours between working one muscle group and between working it again. And this gives your body enough time to sort of run through the repair process to repair the muscle fibers. And if you're working out that muscle before it's had time to repair, you're going to be sort of preventing that muscle from growing, but you're also going to be risking injury. So mistake number 6 that I want to talk about is not keeping a track of your workouts. So not keeping a track of what you're actually doing in the gym, not keeping a track of what exercise you're doing, how many reps you're doing, the weight that you're lifting. So you need to sort of get yourself into the habit of keeping a log or tracking your workouts in some way. For me, I just use just a notepad app on my phone, just the default notepad app. I just write down the exercise that I'm doing on a particular day, the amount of reps that I've done on that particular exercise and the weight that I've lifted. And then once you get into the habit of doing this, you know what weight you've lifted the previous week. So you're then in a position to sort of know what weight to increase it to, which is what I'm going to touch on in this next mistake that I'm going to talk about, which is not including progressive overload. So bulking mistake number 7 on my list is progressive overload, not progressively overloading your muscles. So what do I mean by that? So when you're working out, you want to be continually putting your muscles under stress. You want to be working to almost failure every single set. And as time goes on, your muscles are going to become adapted to the weight that you're actually using. And this is where progressive overload comes into play. You want to be continually adding weight to the bar or increasing the dumbbells that you're lifting on a weekly basis if you can. So whether you're working out in the 4 to 6 rep range, the 6 to 8 rep range, or the 8 to 10 rep range, you want to get to the point that if you can lift more than your maximum rep range on that particular weight, that you're then increasing the weight for the next time you work out. So what do I mean by that? So for example, most of my exercises I work out are 4 to 6 reps. So if I'm in a position where I can lift 7 reps on a particular exercise on a particular weight, then I know that I'm in a position to then move that weight up to get to the point where I can only lift between 4 to 6 reps again. And you don't need to be adding much weight to the bar. All I do is I add 1.25 kilo plates to the bar either side. So if one week I'm able to bench 80 kilograms for 7 reps, for the following week after I will add 1.25 kilos on each side. So then I will try to bench 82.5 kilos for a minimum of 4 reps between the 4 to 6 rep range. And I keep doing this until I get to the point where I can eventually lift 7 reps on that new added weight. And then once I can do that, I increase the weight again. And this is what progressive overload is. So you want to be continually increasing that weight every single week if you can. And this is continually going to be putting your muscles under stress and breaking the muscle fibers down, which, as you know from a previous mistake I discussed, this is when muscles grow. So the final bulking mistake that's on this list is not including compound lifts into your workout. Now, when I first started working out, I was focusing too much on isolation exercises. That is exercises that basically only work one muscle group. So the bicep curl, side lateral raises, exercises like that. And I was neglecting including compound lifts into my workouts. So what are compound lifts? So compound lifts are exercises that incorporate more than one muscle group. And when it comes to compound lifts, you want to be focusing on the big 4, which is your squat, your deadlift, your bench, and your military press. And the number 1 compound lift out of all of those is the deadlift. Now, the deadlift literally works so many muscle groups. It works your glutes, it works your hamstrings, it works your lower back, your upper back, and even your core. So you want to be making sure that whichever exercise plan you're following, that it includes compound lifts. And too many times you see people working out in the gym and they're just focusing on these isolation exercises, which is what I did previously. And only including the bench press as a compound lift. So you want to be making sure that you're including as many compound lifts into your workout routine as possible, and specifically paying attention to the squat and the deadlift. So that's the final bulking mistake on my list. And that brings me to the end of this video. So if you've enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and let me know in the comments below whether you agree with the mistakes that I've listed in this video, and if there's any mistakes that you feel that I've missed out that I should have included. And I will see you on the next video.